The Armenian king has assembled a massive army to defend his city against the might of Imperial Rome. Though outnumbered, the Romans are seasoned professionals when it comes to fighting Eastern armies. Today, the fate of these two armies lies with a group of musicians from Durham.
Let's have the infantry protect the archers.
It's not going well. Loads of our men are running away.
Here, they will refight this landmark battle using state-of-the-art technology against the greatest generals of the ancient world. This is Time Commands. The year is 69 BC. The place is Tigranakerte, the golden city of the ancient empire of Armenia. On one side, the forces of the Roman Republic under the Roman general Lucullus. On the other side, Tigran, king of Armenia, one of the most powerful rulers of the Near East. For 5 years, Rome had been at war with the kingdom of Pontus in today's central Turkey. After a series of crushing defeats at the hands of the Roman legions, the Pontic king Mithridates fled to his ally and son-in-law, Tigran. Tigran had transformed Armenia into one of the most powerful empires in the East. As a testament to his own success, Tigran built a royal city, Tigranakerte, on the borders of Armenia and Mesopotamia, near modern Sirte in Turkey. It was here that the king of Pontus, Mithridates, took refuge from the Romans. But in 69 BC, the Roman general Lucullus ordered Tigran to surrender Mithridates to him. When Tigran refused, Lucullus' father-in-law Mithridates to the Romans. Instead, Tigran assembled a massive army to fight the Romans. The Armenian army was huge, but the quality poor. Many of the soldiers were forced into service and lacked the determination and discipline of the Roman legionaries. Compared to the Romans, many of Tigran's men were also very poorly equipped. But Tigran did have one crack unit, the Cataphracts. These heavily armored horses and men were his army's greatest strength. And he also had 10,000 archers, which gave him an advantage over the Romans. Tigran was confident of victory and keen to defend his capital city. To fight the Armenians, Lucullus had mustered 12,000 soldiers. Rome's army was the most feared fighting force in the world. Its legions were divided into cohorts of professional and practiced soldiers. They had already routed the army of Pontus and were confident of smashing the very similar forces of Tigran. The battleground at Tigranakerte is an open plain outside the city walls. A fordable river separates the two armies. It is the eve of battle. If Lucullus wins, he will break the Armenian Empire and extend Rome's influence eastward. He will also gain immense personal prestige and wealth. King Tigran of Armenia is 70 years old and politically shrewd, but lacks skill as a military leader. If he wins, he'll cement his reputation as the King of Kings and protect his empire from expansionist Rome. The stakes are high. Battle is imminent. The terrain. The desert battlefield is a plain with a deep river running through it. On one side stands the Armenian army ready to protect their city, Tigranakerte. Across the river, hidden in a dry, shallow valley, the invading Romans. There is only one point in the river where each army can cross. The hill by the river offers a good vantage point to defend access to the city. Also, there is a high plateau away from the river which could be tactically useful. But will our team spot these key features? Will they realize the importance of their heavy cavalry, the Cataphracts? And will they understand the sheer size of the army they have at their disposal?
The ones in the rows at the front are slingers.
Right.
Slingers.
Yeah.
The Armenian army has 10,000 slingers. As ammunition, they have sharp stones which they hurl at the enemy using leather slings.
Then just behind them to the left, there's the general with elite guards.
The Armenian general, King Tigran, has come to this battle with a huge army confident of a glorious victory.
And then the two rows behind them are archers.
A phenomenal 10,000 archers, firepower the Romans have seldom faced before.
And then them 4 blocks behind are all infantry. And then there's 3 blocks of spearmen.
The 20,000 spearmen could be effective in this battle if deployed as backup troops for the more vulnerable archers.
To be honest, do you wish you'd been a general?
No, I'm quite happy.
King Tigran, or Tigranes in Greek, has got a vast army, but it's like a soap bubble. It's big, but it relies on its structure to stay together. There's nothing inside it. It's got no guts. Tigranes has got an army that's huge because all of the other kings have sent him contributions. But they've been making up numbers. It's like a big production of a musical where they bring in school kids, hand them a spear, and tell them to stand on stage.
The block at the back, they are infantry. And then the big block in front.
That he has got the king of the Adiabenians with him. He's got the king of the Medes with him. He's got Gordianians. He's got Albanians. He's got Arabs. He's got steppe nomads. It's like a scene out of Conan the Barbarian. Tigran has not got a tight army. He's got a big, loose army. And it can fall apart at any moment.
With this huge variety of troops, will the team be able to marshal them effectively?
And is that the enemy?
No, this is us as well.
Further along the river, away from the city, are the Armenian secret weapon, the Cataphracts.
All of them are Cataphracts except the small group, which is scouts, which are just at the front.
This formidable troop are on horseback, heavily armoured in chain mail, with long spears. Having discovered them, will the team realize how useful they could be when planning their strategy?
One of the great strengths of the Armenian army are these heavy Cataphract cavalry, just the thing that might be able to disrupt the Roman order and discipline.
Cataphracts. Heavily armoured horses, formidable force when charging in close formation. Vulnerable at the flanks, armed with long spears.
These heavily armored Cataphracts and their great big lances are tremendously powerful out in the wide open spaces. They're slow moving, but they have the capability of delivering a shock charge. They can run into you and frighten you away and smash your formations if you're not careful.
Archers can disrupt enemy on the move, poor in close combat, firing range of only 100 meters.
Could attack the archers if the archers are not in a mutually supporting relationship with some heavy foot or perhaps some of the Armenian cavalry.
One more clue for you. Have a look at your peasants.
Armenian peasants, effective in large numbers, untrained, may panic.
Like peasants the world over, there are a lot of them. And of course, they've always got javelins. We have to do all of this. I was wondering...
To face. It is the last opportunity for the team to recognize the disparity in numbers between their huge Armenian army and the Romans. Anything that the scouts miss here could lead to huge repercussions in the battle they're about to fight.
And these particular regular Roman troops who fight the Battle of Tigranakerte have actually been fighting for 5 years in a previous campaign. They are hardened veterans. But not only that, they are grouped together in this very flexible formation of cohorts. In the old days, the legions used to be divided into 30 maniples. Now it's 10 cohorts, and the overall commander only needs to give orders to the 10 commanders under him for his army to be able to move.
In the shallow valley across the river from the Armenian army, the Romans have lined up with 10,000 well-armed and tightly disciplined legionary reserves. 1,000 barbarian cavalry, 500 archers, and 500 slingers. With only a few minutes before they deploy their troops, Billy is still struggling to find the river crossing that so far has eluded him.
If he goes to the back.
A key issue for Tigran, the king of the Armenians, in this battle, is that he doesn't like to get bad news.
The team haven't realized how far their troops are from the crossing. Can they achieve this ambitious plan and move this 100,000-strong army in time to meet the fast, efficient Romans?
Far side of the hill.
Instead of using these powerful cataphracts in an early offensive, the team deploy them behind the hill, out of view of the Romans. Will this defensive action by our generals prove a costly mistake?
The Armenians could buy themselves enough time to deploy if they were willing to use their cataphracts aggressively. But look, they are getting their cataphracts out of the way. There's nobody to screen the ford.
However, the efficient Roman machine has already slid into action, moving towards the ford. The Roman general Lucullus knows that seizing the initiative by positioning his troops on the flat is going to be critical if he wants to defeat an army 10 times in size.
The Romans are skilled and drilled at rapid movement across country, even though Roman heavy foot are comparatively slow moving compared with lighter forces. They are capable of moving very briskly across ground without disrupting their formations.
We also know on the other side of the coin,
The team generals start to deploy their second key troops, the Armenian Archers. But with the enemy on the move, have they made their first error by only sending one small unit of troops to face these organized Romans? And still the Romans advance ever nearer the ford.
Do we want the archers to run and get exhausted?
They need to get a move on if they hope to stick to their plan to take the high ground. The Romans are fast approaching the crossing, and the Armenian archers are still walking.
What we have going on out here is a race. The team is going to try to contest the crossing, and that means they have to get within at least shooting distance of the crossing. The Romans want to walk across. I should see a crowd of Armenians heading for that ford, light forces and cavalry to screen the ford. The Cataphracts were close enough to screen the ford. But what do I see instead? I see the Romans in 3 lines ready to walk across the river, and nobody on the Armenian side of the river ready to stop them.
They're all moving forwards towards the crossing.
Do we need the archers to run?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Make the archers run.
At last, the team realize the urgency of their position and send their archers running towards the hill. But without backup, what did the team hope to achieve with this one small unit? And meanwhile, the Romans are ready to cross at the ford.
forward as well.
We've brought all of the units that I was in command over moving forward.
At long last, the team realize they need to mobilize all their troops. But is this now too late?
They're being far too ambitious in terms of the way in which they can move their troops over ground. And what I'm worried about is the army's going to be strung out and taken in detail.
The Romans are mobilizing to cross the river. The first troop will be the 1,000-strong barbarian cavalry.
They're sending cavalry in.
Attack them
Where
with
are you then?
archers.
Archers.
Yeah, archers.
The archers reach the hill just in time. But are they exhausted from their frantic dash across the desert? The unstoppable Romans send their cavalry across the river.
We're in range to shoot with the archers now.
And what about infantry? Do we have infantry to support them?
Infantry are coming up behind now.
We just need infantry there.
They're running in.
Hopefully we'll draw them along the plain, and as they go along the plain we will fire.
Apparently unaware that the Armenians outweigh them 10-1, the Romans send their cavalry onto the exposed plain. The first engagement of the battle is about to begin. This error by the Roman command gives the archers their first taste of blood.
Well, that seems to have been successful. They've scarpered.
Without any support from Roman troops, the cavalry retreat out of range of the Armenian archers. But the Roman commander, General Lucullus, is not intimidated by this small number of enemy troops and continues with his objective to ford the river. He sends his light infantry across.
The Romans are not at all fazed by this crossing. The Romans are just doing another day's work. This is an almost professional couple of Roman legions coming up here. And the Romans are just doing what they do every day.
The Romans might find this crossing easy, but the Armenian archers have the high ground and could take the advantage.
Archers fire on that group, please.
Can we get the archers to fire again? The archers are firing.
The Armenian archers aim their arrows on the Roman infantry crossing the ford and start firing. The relentless barrage from these Armenian key troops begins to cause confusion within the Roman ranks. Although this onslaught makes only a small dent in Roman numbers, the team's strategic plan appears to be paying off. The Romans have no time to regroup into battle formation. The Roman general commits his troops. He takes the unusual step of sending his infantry up the hill to take out these seemingly isolated archers. Traditionally, Romans prefer to fight their battles on the flat in strict formation. So can our team play this tactical error by the Roman general to their advantage?
So our forces haven't...
But it's too late. The huge Armenian infantry are still nowhere near the hill.
Can you just keep the archers firing at them?
But the Romans keep coming. The first unit of archers, without skills in arm-to-arm combat, have no protection against the superior skills of the Roman heavy legion. The Romans launch their first offensive on the hill with devastating effect. They wipe out the majority of the Armenian first unit of archers.
Despite the errors that they've made so far, all is not yet lost. They may still win this battle. And the reason they might win it is because they have a huge majority of troops over the Romans. And if they can keep them out of trouble for long enough and not allow them to be defeated in detail, they may eventually overcome the Romans.
Do we want to use the Cataphracts
The
yet?
Cataphracts are right at the back doing nothing.
Where do we want the Cataphracts?
Let's keep them back for the moment. Let's use slingers on both of those.
Despite their archers being routed, there seems to be disagreement amongst the team about how they use their main key troops, the Cataphracts. Will it be all over before they see any action at all?
I just thought that we had a superior number advantage over them, and it was just to try and reduce their numbers some more.
And
I
then
don't
move
know.
forward.
If you want to attack with them, attack with them. I don't care.
Don't take my word for it, seriously.
You could attack with some of them and see what impact they have.
Yeah, I don't think you should attack.
Now, what will the Armenian team do with their strongest troop, the Cataphracts?
Bring half of the Cataphracts forward.
And bring them round and have them attack from behind the
Where do we want
Romans.
the Cataphracts?
To the,
We want
to the right.
keep half the group back, and half the group is going to go round and attack the Romans from behind.
While the generals focus on moving the Cataphracts, they fail to notice another cohort of Roman heavy infantry crossing the river.
Is staring at a tiny corner of the battlefield.
A second unit of Armenian archers position themselves lower down on the hill to continue to disrupt the Roman crossing.
They will have no fighting room. They will have no ability to maneuver because they'll have the river close against them. The team is acting as though they are an outnumbered army.
The Armenian infantry arrive just in time to protect and support their archers. Meanwhile, the Roman barbarian cavalry, having positioned themselves safely out of range of the archers, prepare to launch an attack on the Armenian infantry. Even without any infantry support, the Romans remain confident that they can take out this disorganized rabble.
We're being attacked by cavalry.
Can you have the infantry protect the archers?
It's not the archers that need protecting. The Roman cavalry charge causes chaos in the ranks of the weak, ill-trained Armenian infantry.
While they run.
We're in complete disarray.
Billy, at last, is using half the Cataphracts as he planned. It is a surprise, full frontal charge. Fortunately for our team, the Roman cavalry are too busy wiping out the Armenian infantry to respond in time to this Cataphract charge. Being completely outnumbered, the Roman cavalry abandon the battlefield and retreat to the ford. Despite heavy losses of infantry, the Armenians at the moment appear to have the upper hand. Their fortunate use of cataphracts has proved to be effective for the time being. However, the Romans retaliate by launching an offensive with a unit of heavy infantry against the cataphracts, hoping to take the advantage. These heavy cataphracts are incredibly vulnerable to infantry attack when pinned in a stationary position. This is when Romans are at their most deadly. The Cataphracts take heavy losses. But how will our team respond?
Can we retreat?
Can we retreat?
Yeah.
The Cataphracts.
You want the Cataphracts to retreat?
It's just that there's a Roman army just about to engage them on their flank.
Well, it's a war.
Faced with a Roman charge, the Cataphracts retreat. Is this the action of a panicky general, or have our team got greater plans for their strongest troops? Billy's obsession with the Cataphracts appears to be clouding his vision. He seems to have forgotten that this Armenian army has a massive 10-to-1 advantage over the Romans, and he has yet to use the majority of his troops.
We've got 4 units of infantry doing nothing at the moment.
20,000 spearmen and 50,000 peasants have still to be engaged in this battle.
Because the team has not effectively committed their troops to battle, a lot of the team's army is standing around doing nothing, so they're still alive.
All the Cataphracts regroup, poised to launch another offensive on the Roman army.
Charge again, please. Cataphracts to charge again.
All of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
In this second Cataphract charge, the team stick to their original plan to bring half of the Cataphracts behind the Romans and engulf them. This huge double fist explodes on Lucullus's men. The plan seems to work. The charging Cataphracts surround two cohorts of Roman foot soldiers on the hill. The sheer volume of Armenian Cataphracts overwhelms the enemy, inflicting heavy losses on the Roman infantry.
Can we bring the other Cataphracts up from behind?
That's what we're doing. We'll completely surround them.
The team has really seized the initiative, like Romans.
The Romans send a further cohort onto the hill to engage with the Armenian Cataphracts. In close combat, the superior fighting skills of the Roman light infantry are starting to overcome the Armenian Cataphracts.
"57 of our Cataphracts are running away."
Running away?
Yeah.
They're running?
Yeah, 57 of them.
Surely now is the time that the team need to mobilize the rest of their army.
Emma, these groups which are moving, are they all ours?
Yes. They're all infantry.
Can you engage the Romans?
At last, Billy has seen the huge swathe of Armenian troops at his disposal. And finally, he sends his infantry to face the Roman cohorts.
We're using our spearmen to fight a group of their infantry, and we're winning.
Unable to withstand this overwhelming Armenian onslaught, Roman discipline crumbles and their infantry begin to run for their lives.
This is about the only possible time that the Armenian peasants...
Meanwhile, with chaos ensuing on the main battlefield, further up on the hill, the Roman general Lucullus is surrounded by Armenian spearmen and slingers. Despite a valiant attempt by the general, he is overwhelmed and killed.
We killed their general.
Are we?
The Romans attempt a final offensive. Two remaining Roman cohorts charge at the Armenian infantry. Despite their superior fighting skills, the outnumbered Romans struggle to hold back the tide of Armenian peasants. In a battle of numbers against discipline, the Armenian unruly peasants are winning out. At last, the team are using these peasants for what they're good at, battle fodder, and it's working. With their general dead and their numbers depleted, morale in the Roman camp finally falters. This huge mob of an Armenian army has managed to halt the march of Rome in the east.
Spot that?
After the real battle of Tigranakerte, having suffered a humiliating defeat, King Tigran escaped with his father-in-law Mithridates. The following year, Lucullus advanced his Roman army again on the Armenian king, and this time crushed Tigran's powerful empire. Lucullus's resounding triumph in his campaigns in the east ensured that he returned home a wealthy man. Once again, he had extended the power of imperial Rome.
It's pick of the day time now, and here's your choices. On BBC One, it's the next up-to-the-minute version of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And here on BBC Two, clothes pegs at the ready. For your notes.